My family celebrated my siblings' success and overlooked me, so I chose my own path last. Spring, my brother Ethan earned a major promotion. It was a big deal. Company-wide email, celebratory drinks, the whole 9 yards. He got a corner office, a fancy title, everything. My parents were over the moon. They whisked him and his fiancée away on a lavish week-long cruise across the Mediterranean. Top-tier service, gourmet meals, the works. They shared photos daily, dinners under the stars, cozy robes, clinking glasses at sunset with captions like, "Couldn't be prouder of our star." I liked their posts, sent Ethan a quick "congrats, bro" text, even called him before they left to say, "You earned it." Then I went back to my routine. A few months later, I landed a promotion too. Not as glamorous as Ethan's, but significant. I stepped into a leadership role in my company's data division, managing a team for the first time. My name made it into the company newsletter. I shared the news with my parents over dinner. They smiled, said, "That's awesome." And Dad gave a quick nod, murmuring, "Good job." Mom asked about the office dress code. Then the talk shifted back to Ethan, his fiancée's new art gallery, their new puppy. I didn't expect a cruise, but maybe a little acknowledgement, a toast, a card, something. Instead, they headed to their cabin by the lake that weekend, just the two of them. No invite, no text, just a photo from the pier with a caption, "Peace at last." At first, I brushed it off. Not every milestone needs a parade, but then my aunt mentioned they'd offered to cover Ethan's wedding venue before he'd even proposed. When I asked Mom about it, she waved it off. "We just want them secure for the future," she said. Secure, like I didn't need securing or wasn't worth it. I thought about calling them out, but didn't want to seem envious or small, so I let it go. Until my birthday rolled around. It was a Tuesday, nothing fancy expected. Maybe a dinner, a cake. But when I called to check their plans, Dad said they were off for a short trip. "Where?" I asked. "Same cruise line we took with Ethan," he replied. "They gave us a deal for coming back." I went quiet. He chuckled, filling the silence. "We'll take you next time." But we both knew next time wasn't coming. That night alone with takeout, I scrolled through their new cruise photos. Ethan commented on one, "Brings back memories." Likes piled up. No one mentioned me. That's when something shifted. Not anger, not yet. Clarity. This wasn't about a trip. It was about my place, or lack of one, in their world. I wasn't the second son. I was the one they could skip over because I never made waves, never demanded attention. They thought they had me figured out, but that was about to change.
2 weeks later, we had a family barbecue. Nothing fancy, just the usual Sunday gathering at my parents' place. Ethan and his fiancée were there, along with a couple of aunts, an uncle, and our cousin Nate. I almost skipped it, but part of me wanted to see if they'd acknowledge anything. Their cruise over my birthday, maybe a belated toast. Instead, I got a quick nod from Dad, a brief hug from Mom. No happy birthday. No how's the new job. The night's focus? Ethan. His company had invited him to speak at a national conference. Everyone clapped, gushed over the details. His fiancée said, "He's made for this." I sipped my drink and watched. My promotion? Not a single question. I helped with the drinks, cleaned up a spilled plate. No one noticed. Mom asked me to snap a group photo. I lined it up, saw them all smiling, arms around each other, Ethan in the middle. I wasn't in the shot. She didn't ask me to join. I handed back the phone and slipped inside, pretending to check my phone. I stood in the hallway, out of sight, listening. They were planning Christmas, Ethan and his fiancée's trip overseas. Mom called it their gift to themselves. Dad offered to cover their flights. No one asked about my plans if I'd be around. I was a guest in my childhood home, useful when needed, unseen otherwise. That's when I made a choice. No more arguing about the past. No more asking why I was a side character in my own family. I'd respond differently. When Christmas came, I didn't send gifts, didn't show up, didn't explain. I let the silence speak. Mom called 3 days later. "We missed you," she said. I told her work was hectic. "You could have said something," she replied. I paused, then said, "I could have, but I remembered you didn't say anything when you went on a cruise for my birthday." Silence. Then defensively, "We didn't mean to upset you. We didn't think you'd mind." That hit hard, not because it was harsh, but because it was true. They didn't think I'd mind. I'd taught them I wouldn't. I ended the call politely, not mad, just done. The next family event, I said, I had plans. The one after, I didn't reply. The invites slowed. They still saw Ethan weekly, posted brunch pics, shared articles about young leaders. Me? I faded from their story. And for the first time, I stopped trying to write myself back in. I stopped tying my worth to their attention. There's a quiet power in letting go of people who don't see you. I threw myself into work, not to drown my feelings, but to build something real. I pitched bold projects, took risks, grew my team twofold in a year. I moved into a role overseeing multiple departments, shaping strategy, not just crunching numbers. My name started popping up in industry reports. I spoke at a conference, mentored new hires. I wasn't chasing their applause. I was chasing what I knew That year, I bought a condo in a city I loved. Not huge, but bright, near a park with a balcony perfect for late afternoons. I hosted a housewarming, co-workers, old college buddies, neighbors. No parents, no Ethan. Not to hurt them, but because I didn't need their validation anymore. I didn't want to measure my life against Ethan's latest post. I didn't need their stamp on what I'd built. Then, unexpectedly, a family friend I barely knew messaged me on LinkedIn. "Heard about your big wins. Your parents must be so proud." I stared at the message, a knot in my chest. They weren't proud. They hadn't called about my new role, my condo, the industry mentions. They knew. Mutual friends commented on my posts. My cousin told her mom, but they stayed silent. Then came Ethan's engagement, a grand reveal, photos in a vineyard, a custom hashtag, a video with sweeping drone shots. His caption, "She said yes, thanks to those who always had my back." Mom's comment, "So proud of you, darling. You're building something special." I closed the app. Not angry, just free. I didn't send a gift, didn't like the post, didn't reply when Dad texted about the engagement party, assuming I'd show. I responded, "I won't be there." No explanation, no apology. They noticed the distance, hesitant voicemails, occasional texts, but they didn't connect it to their actions. People who don't see you can't understand why you'd vanish. I wasn't gone out of spite. I was gone because I didn't owe my presence to a family that only called it family when it suited them. When the nomination came, that old instinct flickered. The need for someone to notice when you break through. The email was from a respected industry group. Nominee Daniel Carter, Excellence in Data Leadership. I read it twice, sat still. Not celebrating, just absorbing. For the first time, I felt what it was like to be seen by people who owed me nothing and chose to anyway. My team threw a party, streamers in the break room, a cake with my name, speeches, laughter. My old boss sent a note. "All you. No shortcuts." I posted one photo, a plaque with my name. No caption. Comments flooded in. Friends, colleagues, mentors. My parents? Nothing. My cousin Mia texted, "Saw your nomination, told your mom, she didn't know." She knew. She just didn't call. At the awards gala, I didn't win, but I didn't need to. The nomination, the room applauding my name, that was enough. Later, I saw Ethan's latest post, a new career milestone. Mom's comment, "Never been prouder." Posted hours after my nomination was announced. I didn't cry or rage, I just understood. It wasn't about my success or lack of it. It was about roles. To them, I was the one who'd always manage, who didn't need support. So they didn't give it. That night I wrote a letter, not to them, to me, to the part still waiting for their call. "You're done waiting," I wrote. "You're done proving. They saw you." I never sent it. Never mentioned the nomination. When they called weeks later about Ethan's wedding, I said no. Mom paused. "He'd love you there." "He never asked," I said. "That's the issue." She got quiet, then said, You don't need to make it a big deal. I'm not, I said. I'm just being real. She didn't argue, just said, take care. And that was it. I didn't go to the wedding, didn't send a gift, didn't respond to the group chat photo of Ethan and his bride under twinkling lights. I muted it. They didn't ask where I was, not outright. But days later, my cousin Nate texted, "You good?" I said, "Yeah." "Everyone noticed you weren't there. Your mom seemed off." I replied, "She knew I wasn't coming." He said, "She didn't think you'd mean it." That hit. They expected me to bend, to show up, to keep the peace. But I wasn't filling their gaps anymore. Nate texted again. "Talk to Aunt Karen. Your dad said you've been doing your own thing, but didn't say what." They didn't even share my life with others. I didn't fit their narrative, so they erased it. Nate and I grabbed coffee later. He asked about my work, my place, my life. Said he felt bad for drifting. "Thought you were too busy," he said. "I was," I replied, "but not for this." He said, "I always saw they treated you differently. Didn't realize how much you carried. No one sees the weight until you drop it." He asked if I'd ever return to the family. "Maybe," I said, "but not as someone begging for a spot, only if I choose my place." That night I passed the framed nomination letter by my door. It used to be my reminder I mattered. Now it just sat there, part of the scenery. I didn't need it to prove anything anymore. 6 months post-wedding, Ethan texted, "Free to talk?" It was unlike him, vague, no plan. I said sure, and we met at a quiet cafe. He looked worn, still sharp but frayed. No small talk. "You didn't come to the wedding," he said. "Nope," I replied. He nodded, no blame. "I wasn't shocked, but I hoped you'd be there." "You never asked me to come," I said. "Did I need to? That's the point." He stared at his coffee. "I didn't ask because I knew you'd say no." "And why do you think I'd say no?" He sighed. "Because we left you out, and acted like you were the one who left." That stopped me. Not dramatic, just true. The first time someone in my family said it. "It wasn't the trips or the money," I said. "It was the silence, watching you all cheer each other while I stood outside, like that was fine, like I was just quiet, when really, I was tired of trying to be seen in a room with no space for me." He didn't defend them, just listened. "They didn't mean it," he said. "I know," I said, "but they did it." We talked for an hour, about childhood, the subtle ways they favored. Then he said, "I liked being the favorite because I didn't see what it cost you, or what ignoring you cost me." I said, "I didn't know what being unseen did to me until I stopped pretending it was okay." He asked if I'd come back, not for them, just to be there. "Maybe," I said, "but it'd need to be different." "I want it to be," he said. That meant more than he knew. Not a bridge to the old, but a door I didn't have to beg to enter. That night he texted, "Thanks for today. Hope it's not the last." I replied, "That's up to all of us." And I meant it. Spring came softly. No fanfare. Just a group text from Ethan. "Thinking casual dinner at ours next weekend? Whoever wants to come, come. No pressure." I almost skipped it, unsure what showing up meant. Would it feel like stepping back into a house that forgot me? But the message felt different. No expectations, just an invite. So I went. Ethan's place was simple, warm, lived in, a dining table that felt like it held real stories. No one made a fuss when I arrived, just Ethan saying, "Hey, good to see you," and Mia pulling out a chair. "This one's yours." It wasn't special, just a chair, but it was there, intentional, and that was enough. We talked work briefly. I mentioned a new project. Ethan asked real questions. Aunt Karen praised a talk I'd given online. Someone mentioned the wedding, not as a jab, just a moment. No one guilted me for missing it. They were starting to get it. Absence isn't always rejection. Sometimes it's what's left when you've been drowned out too long. As the night ended, Ethan pulled me aside. "Didn't tell Mom you were coming," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "Didn't think it was her call," he said. "She'll hear about it and have feelings, but you don't owe her." I nodded. "She won't give you flack for inviting me?"
She already does, he grinned. Might as well make it count. I laughed, real, not bitter. For the first time, we weren't pretending. Walking out, Ethan said, "Next time you're on dessert. Only if I pick the music," I shot back. Driving home, I didn't feel victorious, just steady. Like I'd stopped circling a family that didn't make room for me and watched it shift to meet me part way. Not because I demanded it, but because I stopped performing. My parents still didn't call, still posted about Ethan, still acted like the distance was chance. But I didn't need their spotlight. I'd built something beyond their shade, strong enough to stand on its own. That chair at Ethan's table didn't undo the past. It didn't need to. I didn't come to rewrite history. I came to live without apology. You don't always get the apology or the cheers. Sometimes you just get your name said right, not as an afterthought, but as someone worth a seat. And sometimes that's more than enough.